This is the Reverie.
It seems like the conference has begun.
All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Ashura, and before we get started, did you guys know that 97% of you guys watching right now aren't subscribed? Go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe button down there, and make sure you guys are watching, have those notifications on, so that way you guys know when these videos are gonna drop for you. And I got something special for us today. It is the start of the Reverie. We're gonna be talking with my homies in the community about different leaders, different decks, and today I've got Mudkip Man with us today. Say hi, man.
What up? How y'all doing?
And so yeah, I got him here today. We're gonna be talking about a 08 leader, none other than Red Green Chopper. And so Mudkip, my friend, take it away.
Yeah, so, I'm very excited coming up into 08 because obviously, if you can't tell by my choice of trying to pick this leader up is, Chopper's one of my favorite characters in the anime. So when I saw he was becoming a leader, I got pretty excited because I'm a bit newer to this game. So I was excited. I was like, oh, sweet, this is awesome. Like, it's going to be great. Well, then all of a sudden I realized I was looking it up because I'm newer to the One Piece TCG. I realized as I was looking it up, I'm going, man, there's not a lot of information out there on this guy. There's not a lot of people making videos, not a lot of deck lists going out. So, it surprised me because I was like, well, I feel like somebody at one point would go, I'm out of content, time to make a deck list video. And there's a couple you can find, but it's really not as many as you'd think there would be. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna try, and this is my first time. I'm gonna try and cook. We're gonna see what we can do. We're gonna see what we can work out. And so far, it's been pretty great. One of the biggest question marks people have with this leader, I would say, is whether or not you would play Chopper or you'd play Zoro. Because have you seen the Zoo package before with Zoro? Have you seen that?
I have, yeah. So playing a lot of like the animal characters with blocker Chopper, where I believe you can cheat out a character or just kind of be able to fill the board real quick, right?
Yes. So yeah, Zoo Zoro is very strong on that animal package. So a lot of people, if you actually even look up, funnily enough, when it comes to like tier lists, is out of like the 6 tier lists I watched, 4 of them straight up left Chopper out of the mix entirely.
That's kind of wild considering his red-green identity is pretty strong, to be honest.
Well, yeah, but that's most people's conversation with Chopper. One, they either ignore him, or one of the lists I watched, the guy's only real words he said when he placed Chopper in like the bottom tier, whatever he called it, he basically just said, just play Zoro at that point. So a lot of people, I think, are underestimating the strengths of Chopper because they see a deck like Zoro, which is a strong deck. Do not get me wrong. Zoro is a very powerful deck with the animal package, but people seem to think that Chopper can't keep up, so there's no point in running him. When really, honestly, Chopper has a couple of things going for his advantage. Like you said, Chopper's red-green. That gives you access to a lot of great cards.
Absolutely. I mean, just taking a quick look at your list here, I mean, I'm seeing Hody Jones, seeing Brook, I'm seeing Law, even 5-cost Luffy, which I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Yes. No, so when I was deciding to build Chopper, I was trying to come to the decision of, okay, how do I build this deck? What am I gonna do with it? How do I make this, in my mind, what I was trying to do is, how do I make this better than Zoro? How do I make somebody pick Chopper instead of Zoro? And really, I came down to 2 things. One, it's how do I make use of his green coloration?
For sure.
And how do I make use of the Dawn attachment? Because Zoro's big thing and people's big idea with Zoro is you're able to give your characters more power across the board because his ability, 1 Dawn, all of a sudden you can get maybe 6 Dawn worth of 1k power on all of your different characters.
It's hard to beat that.
Yes, but what I was thinking about, and as I was even looking at some of the animal packages, a lot of it requires that Dawn attachment.
Okay, so that works with Chopper, huh?
Correct. So a lot of what I've tried to build around is what cards are powerful enough that need that Dawn attached, that maybe Zoro on certain turns would not be able to do, would not be able to attach the Dawn because they either played a too high cost minion or they played too many minions or whatever it may be. So you can see I have the EBO1 blocker choppers with that incredible power minus ability on them. I have the Robsons that gain the rush. Robson's a very powerful turn 2 card when you're going second because you can play him out and you have a 3 cost 6k rusher on turn 2.
That is very true. That's pretty valid actually.
Yeah, so when I was looking at it, that's really where my brain was going. So I don't know what your thoughts on that are, but that's more so where my brain was when it came to Chopper.
No, I like that because you utilizing that Dawn attachment, he can only give out 3, so there's no point in trying to, in theory, outpace what Zoro does. He already does what he does efficiently. That's why we don't have a Zoro 2.0, for example.
Correct.
But yeah, no, I like
Yes.
this idea of just attach the Dawn to the characters, let that do its thing, get that value out of it first, too.
Yeah, no, so because that was my whole mentality is, if I'm not going to play Zoro, if I'm going to willingly choose not to play Zoro, then I need to make sure I'm not. So even though this deck is pretty fast, certain matchups, I play significantly slower.
Really, what kind of matchups are
Yes,
you looking to do that in?
Enel is a big one. So I played an Enel, played about 3 Enels actually last night as I was playing. And the first one, I played it as I normally do, just flood the board, rush it down, blah, blah, blah. And I got my tail whooped, obviously. Those triggers, not much I could do. But I realized after that game, I was thinking, well, let me try something different. So what I instead actually did was I used every resource available to me to get to my Hody Jones and get to my Zoro. And I did not swing into Enel one time.
Really? You left him at 4?
I left him at 4 until I had a Zoro on board because I basically was saying you can Raigo or Kingdom Come this Zoro, but I'm gonna make you take 3 life for it.
Okay, I like that. That's actually really bold. I like that.
So basically, I was putting the ball in the NL player's court because I knew if I played the way I play against most matchups, because most yellow matchups, the idea is you want to rush them down before they can get big bodies on the board.
Absolutely.
But with the Nell specifically, a lot of his cards don't really come online with that much health. And I play such little cost things anyway. Taking his life doesn't make his Yamato any weaker. So his Yamato's still very strong, regardless if he has 1 life or not.
Right, all he has to do is technically starve you out, but if you reverse starve him, then he's got to take his own life for the Raigo. And if you're setting up board at the same time, he's done your job for you.
Correct. So in that second game with Enel, I'm not going to say I wasn't lucky that I dodged probably a lot of some powerful cards. Like I probably dodged a lot of triggers, but by the time I had Zoro on the board and he still had 4 life, I didn't just have Zoro. That's the beauty of this deck. I had so many other characters on board at the same time that I was threatening 6 different swings that could all take life. So now all of a sudden, I've put that Enel player in a bind. So now, even if I get him down to 1 life, he Raigos or Kingdom Comes to Zoro, well, then next turn I Hody Jones, or next turn I Zoro again. And now it's how I'm playing the game of, do you have enough removal in your hand to the cards I have in mind?
Absolutely. You've basically told him, hey, I'm killing you in at most 2 turns, so, do your best here, Chief.
Basically. So, because otherwise it's a hard matchup because Enel is such a difficult character to rush down because of that nature, because of the nature of his hero ability. So basically, I make him make the decision.
Yeah, no, that's actually incredibly smart. That's a great way to play this matchup. I like that. That's some good ingenuity right there. And talking a little bit more about, particular cards in the list, let's talk about this 3-cost chopper that's coming out in 08.
Yes, no, that 3-cost chopper right there, that's coming out in 08, is one of the top 3 MVPs of this deck. He is the top 3 MVP, if not the most important card coming out. This card puts this deck really online. Just the ability to play it out and all of a sudden for 3 Dawn have potentially 6 Dawn worth of characters on board, or playing it out, and then if it stays alive for a turn, swinging again and getting to cheat out another character. It generates so much value that I find a hard time not having a full board most of the time.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, if they don't remove this, you've got 3 bodies by turn 3, and that's just off the chopper alone. That's not counting anything you've played.
100%. And the chopper almost even sometimes acts as a pseudo blocker because it's such high value. Opponents are willing to swing into it in hopes of taking it out and using and attaching Dawn, swinging in 7 in hopes that I don't counter out because it's just such a value engine. People want it off the board right away.
No, that's super fair. And now that you say people are generally, pseudo blocker swinging in with 7, are you trying to save him, or are you letting him go and just kind of ignoring that and saying, okay, he stalled the game out a little more for me. Let me try and fill board more.
I think it really depends. I think it depends on how many cards I have, obviously, in my hand, but it also depends on if I have another one in my hand. If I have another one in my hand, he's gone. I'll let him disappear. Because having 2 of them on board almost feels too tight sometimes. When you put 2 of them on board, now all of a sudden you already have 4 characters on board, and then the next one swings and you got a 5th. Now all of a sudden you have to replace something. So if I have another one in hand, I'm more than willing to let the first one go. But sometimes if they just swing a 5K into it, I'll give them a 1K counter. I'll counter out of it. I'll force them to either have to A, swing again, or B, just relent and leave it there, and have to do something about it. So I think it's too situational. I don't think it's a one or the other. I think it just really depends on the matchup. I think a matchup like black, I would more so keep it on board because I'd force them to use their minus removal on him instead of somebody else. So
no, that's very smart. I like that. I see we've got, classic Filmbrook cheating out all of our choppers. I'm sure our Nami searcher as well.
Oh yes, 100%. I mean, Brook on turn 2 going second, you can play a Brook into an 08 chopper into summoning something else, and now all of a sudden one turn you've played 3 bodies out for 4 Dawn.
Hey man, it's just like Green Uta, right?
It's incredible. I mean, it's such Chopper is all about filling the board and being okay with them leaving, basically.
Okay, I like that. And I'm seeing, obviously Green Blocker Law here.
Yep.
A classic that we've had since 01. So can you tell me what we're comboing with him now?
Yeah, so Law's got the obvious combos of you can restart a searcher, you can search again. That's a very obvious combo that Law has at his disposal, but also even just the ability to swing with the blocker chopper from EB01, send it back to hand, and then replay it. So now it's unrested, so now you're able to block with it if need be. You can play out the new 08 chopper. You can throw him out, summon a guy, throw out a Law, take the chopper back, throw the chopper back out. Now you got 4 bodies on board all in one turn. Or a big one at end of games that is nice is playing a Robson, attaching 2 Dawn, or attaching 1 Dawn leader ability. And then if you're able to summon the Robson again and attach the Dawn, that's a good one as well.
Okay, so like a little rushing action here to
yes.
poke him to death, kinda.
Yes, I mean it's very beneficial into a matchup like Bonnie because Bonnie's only able to rest the character once, so now all of a sudden, you're generating that. So they may rest the Robson. Well, now all of a sudden I throw the Robson back in my hand, throw it back out, and now I can swing with them when the Bonnie wasn't planning on it.
That sounds great, dude. I mean, it honestly sounds like you've gone through a lot of different matchups. How many games have you played with Chopper, would you estimate?
Too much, probably. Probably too many to make the wife happy. No, I'm kidding. But no, but I will say is when I get on the sim, because obviously on the sim you see a lot of people experimenting. You can see people playing different weird off meta leaders.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
seek out what I believe is going to be very prevalent in our meta locally, and also just the meta. Like if I see another chopper, a carrot, or something else, and I see an Enel in between, I will try and join the Enel's lobby because in my mind I'm gonna run into way more Enels than I'm gonna run into other choppers locally. So
that dude, that's definitely facts, and I love that mentality. I mean, that's the grind mentality of we're gonna get through this even if it's difficult.
And it's, trust me, it's difficult. But
Oh, I'm
I've gotten
sure.
a lot of games in, and I've tested against. I make sure I test against, as many leaders as I can possibly see. But it's got a bit of a rough matchup into specifically Gecko Moria. Gecko Moria can be a little difficult sometimes.
Okay, for
Um,
sure. I mean, another deck that kind of is black, clears the board, but also
Correct.
fills the
Yes.
board a little bit.
Which actually, if you've since you've noticed earlier, that's what the Monkey D. Luffy inclusion is mainly for.
Okay, yeah, so let's
Um,
definitely bring him up and talk about that.
yeah, so I was thinking as I was kind of building the deck, and as I threw in different things, and I more so had an offensive mindset in mind when I'm playing Chopper, because you're thinking, well, he's red, he's green, he's got an offensive build, he can go more on the offense. So I threw in, we talked earlier, and I threw in a Lapon, and I threw in other things to try and remove blockers, try and remove whatever, so I can try and kill as quick as possible.
For sure, that's
And I
always the
kind
goal.
of and I kind of through practice more so realized that sometimes it's better for me to have more swings and let one be blocked than waste a spot in this deck trying to remove a block that I have so much coming forwards, one blocker doesn't matter.
That's incredibly fair. I like that.
Yeah, so unlike something like playing a yellow deck where I got my 10 cost Big Mom coming in, or I got whatever, and I got these big bodies that I can't have them getting blocked because that's a lot of lost value. I have so many different swings all coming at once that one blocker isn't as impactful. So I thought maybe I just need to keep those guys on board longer, as long as I can. And that's kind of where the Luffy idea came in. And I realized, because it's not hard. If you play this deck list, I'm telling you, you'll realize having 3 characters on board is not a difficult thing to accomplish.
Right, it's pretty easy for you. I mean, seeing with like the 3-cost chopper, Brook on turn 2 with so many different targets. We have Law where he can put stuff down, pick it back up. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of ways in this deck to get to 3 or more.
This deck easily sits at 3 characters almost every single turn. The only time it maybe doesn't is if you're playing a blue deck and they Gravity Blade or something, or they have that form of removal. But you can easily sit at 3 characters. I'm telling you, it's not difficult. So I thought, well, let me throw this out. And even an unintended thing that I realized is it is powerful into yellow, because a big issue sometimes you can run into playing yellow as something like Chopper against like a Katakuri or a Pudding is getting unlucky with some triggers.
Absolutely.
Is especially in 08, them getting those Nami triggers, them getting the
Rocket Luffy is amazing.
the Rocket Luffy's, and all of a sudden it nullifies that, because now they can't, especially the Rocket Luffy, it straight up prevents that trigger from even occurring, because it now can, and it prevents the card from even working, because until they deal with this Luffy, they can't touch anything else.
Absolutely. No, this is an
and
incredible card, a great tech choice.
Oh, 100%. And it forces this to be the target of something like a Nami, like the OP08 Egghead Nami. It can KO the Luffy, but now it can't KO a blocker. Now it can't KO my Chopper that summons things. Now it can't KO something else. It has to hit this.
Yeah, they've got to have 2 removal in hand to even just get through this.
Correct.
No, that's pretty cool. And I'm actually seeing this event down here. This is the first time I'm seeing the Just Shut Up and Come With Us being used in the list, actually.
That is a it's a card that's good situationally. It's the issue is sometimes it can be bricky. Also, the issue is sometimes I forget I can use it. Not gonna lie.
Big brain.
I wish it gave like 1k counter. I think that would make this card a must-have 4 of, but I've actually cut it down to 3 because I feel it can be kind of bricky sometimes because it forces you to keep a Dawn up. But early game, if you start with 2 of these in hand and you're going second, and you're playing someone who's not expecting it and they swing into you, all of a sudden for 2 Dawn, I'm like, yeah, I took a hit, but now I got two bodies on board. And then all of a sudden I do that whole Brook play. Now I got a full board on turn 2 that you were not prepared for.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you can get 6 costs for 2 costs. I mean, that's pretty good.
100%. It's pretty incredible. And there are times late game where it's make or break. I keep the 1 Dawn up, and I hope when they swing, I can find my EBO1 chopper, my starter deck 1 blocker chopper, and I can throw it. Now I have another blocker on board, so maybe I can survive the turn. So it has also won me games in that aspect.
That's
of
actually
keeping me
pretty
alive for a
incredible.
turn.
Like a nice, like a search to try and like protect yourself. I like that.
Yeah, now it's not always guaranteed. There are times I go, all I need is a blocker, and then I look at not even an animal card, and I'm sad, but
Oh,
but
yeah.
the times it works, man, it makes you not want to take the card out of the deck. So
Okay, I hear you. And let's take a look at our friend Wapal here. I mean,
yes,
how does he do in the deck? I see you've got him as
Okay.
a 2 of, so I mean, I'm
Yes.
assuming kind of more tech choice here.
yeah. So Wapple is interesting.
Wapple, my
The reason
bad.
he's only or maybe it's Wapal. I don't remember.
I don't
I
either.
always just I just say Wapple. So but he's only 2 of in the deck because there are times I find it hard sometimes to throw him out there because he is 6 Dawn and this deck really relies on playing a lot of things at once, and 6 Dawn takes a lot of that turn when I could be playing like a blocker law and something else maybe.
For
But
sure, seems like a hard commitment for this deck.
but it is really beneficial in matchups that really focus on big bodies, katakuris, puddings, Bonnie, carrots, the 8-cost kids. This thing is huge against because the benefit of, again, thinking with the chopper, I'm attaching the Dawn to it. I attach a Dawn to it for free. Now all of a sudden when I attack, I not only minus 2k power whatever I'm attacking, not even whatever I'm attacking, something, I gain 2k power until my next turn. So now he goes to a 6-8, all off that free Dawn when swinging, and now he's swinging 9k, and if, let's say it's the Eustace Kid, the Eustace Captain Kid and Bonnie, now I'm swinging 9k into a 6k, and I stay at 8k for the turn.
That's incredible, actually. That's quite a power swing, honestly, for just 1 card and 1 Dawn.
Yeah, so I mean, it has its moments where it's really incredible, and the huge benefit of Wapple and why I think it should be included in most chopper decks, and I'm shocked people aren't, is it has counter. Like, I'd get if it didn't have counter, it could feel bricky, and I maybe would debate whether I need it. But at the end of the day, if I'm playing a matchup like against the Zoro or against something where I feel like Wapple's not really going to make an impact, I'll just counter out of something with him, and
Right,
now all
you
of a
can
sudden
pitch him.
doesn't even matter. So
Yeah, he's not like a Hody or Zoro where, you know,
yes,
you're kind of
correct.
just
If I'm
relying
sitting
on
on 2 of them,
definitely
if
using
I'm
them.
sitting on 2 of them in my hand, I'm not sitting there going, "Oh crap, I got nothing."
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, Wapple definitely seems like definitely a powerhouse without, you know, being that brick house.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
Okay, and I mean, I see Diablo Jambe is a classic. I mean,
Yes.
can't have too many, but 2 of is pretty perfect.
Yes, two of, especially in this deck, 2 of Diablo Janbei, when you throw it on that 9-cost Zoro, wins you games, just straight up. I mean, you can swing 15k 3 times with the Diablo Janbei, completely unblockable. I have won many games where the opponent's been on 2 life just because of that combo alone. Because it's such a threat too. And even if I don't have Diablo Jambe, if I throw a Zoro out, now all of a sudden my opponent has to play around the fact that they can be concerned I might have it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. On paper, this deck seems pretty gnarly, like pretty nasty.
I think the biggest benefit with Chopper is that surprise factor. I don't think a lot of people realize just how wild this thing can swing, and it can swing in multiple different ways. I think that's the benefit. Is I think people expect it to be Zoro, so they play against it like it's a Zoro, and then when I realize they're doing that, I just adjust, and now all of a sudden I go from trying to flood the board to, all right, I'm gonna protect my big bodies with as many blockers as I can, and I'm gonna let them finish the game off for me.
Absolutely. Man, dude, it definitely sounds like you've got that experience under your belt. I mean, I can't wait for you to bring this to locals, honestly.
I can't either. I'm just waiting for OP08 to release so I can get my hands on this deck in person. But no, I think it's got a lot of potential because of just that surprise factor, and I think it's much more versatile personally than something like Zoro. Zoro is very much one dimensional. I either rush you down and kill you, or I don't and I run out of gas and then you kill me.
I would definitely agree with that.
Whereas Chopper, in the hands of somebody who kind of understands the matchups a bit more, very much similar to playing a Nami or playing against a Nami. You got to know your matchups. Every single game, I feel like I have to be like thinking like I'm playing against a Nami, where I'm like, what changes in this specific matchup? This one isn't very much like a straightforward game plan. It changes every single person I play.
For sure. I mean, some decks like this are just a little more delicate for that, where you have to know those matchups. I mean, I play
Hmm.
Vegapunk, so that's a similar route right there. You
Yes,
know,
very much.
it's almost like a glass cannon, but not quite in
Hmm.
that general way where it'll break itself. It's more like you break it.
Correct. And I think the biggest thing with Chopper is I'm just curious to see, the prevalence of certain decks. I think if certain decks take over the meta, like I honestly believe if green decks take over, I think Chopper can really excel because I really have a hard time losing against Bonnies and Carrots. I don't think I've lost to a single Carrot. I've lost to one Bonnie recently, out of the 10 or so matches I've played.
Dang. Okay.
Uh
So I mean, you guys are hearing it here. This is the secret sauce for
Yeah.
Bonnies and
Now, let me
carrots.
clarify. We are all aware I am playing on the sim. Sometimes those Bonnies are not as good as your typical Bonnie you may play against. So
That is
I'm curious
completely
to, yeah,
fair.
I am curious to see how I will compare against, because the people in our locals are pretty good at, especially Bonnie. I feel like we have a lot of really good Bonnie players.
We have good representation
Um,
at our locals, I feel.
yeah, so I'm curious to see how it fares against a bit more certain competent competition, because it really is. I am curious because it really is a hit or miss. I mean, there are games where I get my face stomped in, and then there are games where I feel like I can't be stopped. So
Well, I love to hear that. And got one more question for you actually.
hit me
If
up.
if you could make a card specifically for Chopper, you don't have to go into like a ton of specifics if you can't
Hmm.
think of any, but what would it be? Like, give me a gist.
Yeah. I think, obviously not trying, like, because if I could make something just broken, I'd be like, oh no, I'm kidding. But I think flavor wise, it'd be pretty fun if they did something around like Chopper's Rumble Balls specifically,
Oh, for
like
sure. Yeah.
something around attaching, either play the Rumble Ball and it attaches Dawn, or it does something to animal creatures, or it does something to. I really wish. It makes me upset sometimes, especially playing green, that like Minx cards, I know they're not. I really wish they were considered animals because some of them I feel like would have been nice. But
Absolutely.
I don't know, something along that line of animals, or attach and Dawn or whatever. But I just think it would be a cool little thing to flavor around like the Rumble Balls. So
I definitely like that. Give like a boost of some sort.
yeah, yeah, give like a temporary boost, like I don't know, give a animal plus 3K power for one Dawn or something like that. Just something simple like that, I think would just be fun. I don't know how good it'd be, but it'd be fun.
I think that'd be cool, like an offensive radical beam almost, or like
Yeah,
something
something,
similar to
yeah,
that.
something simpler like that. So
Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming out and
of
talking
course,
to me about Red Green Chopper.
of course, 100%. I love being able to just kind of talk about it because I really have found a lot of passion with this deck, and it's really honestly been some of the most fun I've had in this TCG so far, is building this deck and trying to make it work.
Hell yeah, that's what it's all about. And so, guys, you heard it here first. Red Green Chopper is gonna take OP08 by storm, especially Bonnie's. You guys better be shaking in your
It's
boots.
winning nationals. It's winning world. I'm just kidding.
Oh, if it wins, you're gonna be
If
best
it
person
wins
ever.
nationals, I'm just gonna feel like a genius. But
Absolutely,
I don't think
big
it's that
brain.
good. But
I'll call you Mr. Vega.
oh, okay, sounds good.
Yeah. All right, and thank you for coming out and talking with me. As far as everyone else, I appreciate you guys coming out to the first episode of the Reverie, and expect more of this coming soon. I am going to get with other people in my community and talk about some other leaders and decks. If you guys got suggestions, throw them down below. Have a good one, guys. Peace.